Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Muslim Street. This is your host, Hina Lotus. We have an exciting episode in line for everyone today. We are joined again by Dr. White. He is becoming a regular on our show, and we're super humbled to always have him and go over all the knowledge and pearls of wisdom that he has for us. Today, we're actually going to be interviewing HAKEEM Muhammad. He is a prestigious attorney from Chicago. If you can please introduce yourself to our audience, we'd love to kind of get to know you before we get into the interview.
Sure. So I'm an attorney that focuses on protecting the human rights of Black people. I do police brutality litigation. I do wrongful conviction cases. I'm very passionate about defending Black people here in the United States and all over the globe. And I'm also very active in the Muslim community. I believe Islam holds the solutions to the social problems that the Black community face. And so anytime someone presents a distorted image about Islam and what it stands for, especially in regards to Black people, I want to be there, inshallah, to help clarify things. So I'm very honored to be on this program today.
We're humbled to have you and we're excited to do the interview. And then, Dr. White, you obviously need no introduction, but for any newcomers to our show, if you can introduce yourself, kind of go over your accolades, your experience, and anything else you'd like to share with the audience.
Well, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I'm an academic. I'm a political leader as well as a social thinker. I've taught at major universities with tenure: University of Cincinnati, University of Illinois, University of Central Florida. And I just completed my sixth book, and that is Blacklisted, um, The Price for Speaking Truth. I look forward to talking to Brother HAKEEM Muhammad of Chicago. And like always, Sister Hina, it's a joy and a privilege to share the platform with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. We're humbled to have both of you on. For anyone that's tuning in right now, we are the Muslim Street. Before we get started, I did want to give a quick shout out, of course, to Lance Scurv. He is somewhere in Ghana. It's like 3 a.m. or something over there. He puts in so much time and energy and effort. So please show him some love. He's, always, he's kind of like the pillar and the backbone of the Muslim Street. And then, of course, needs no introduction, my co-host Malik. He's, definitely producing and in the background today. But, we also want to give him a quick shout out for creating this platform, for, allowing Muslims, to have journalism for Muslims, by Muslims, and to, be able to speak freely without having to worry about state-sponsored media or anything of that nature. Today, we're actually going to be discussing HAMZA YUSUF and a lot of controversy around that. Dr. White, is there anything that you'd like to share before we kind of get into the interview and, your thoughts?
Well, I think it's very interesting that Hansa Youssef, who many claim to be one of the most influential Muslims, not only in the United States and throughout the world. What's interesting to me is that he is a convert to Islam, but more so, his stance against groups like Black Lives Matter, his stance against Black liberation theology, his stance in favor of the Abraham Accords, that favors a pacifist Muslim perspective towards the state of Israel, and his whole element of blaming the Palestinians for the uprising that they had to take in reference to Gaza and in reference to the conflict. So his appointment by Donald Trump on the Religious Advisory Board is very interesting, very suspect, and I look forward to hearing HAKEEM Muhammad talk about it. Um, uh, HAKEEM, you just put out a new article titled "Why HAMZA Yousef's Voice Doesn't Speak for the Balalians," right?
So that's actually, I'm not the author of that particular piece. I did read it, however.
I see, I see. And now, what is your perspective on Hansa and his appointment to the advisory board?
First, I just want to clarify thing. So African Americans here in the United States, we have a tradition that is rooted in liberation, fighting for our people, fighting against white supremacy, speaking truth to power. That is a legacy of people such as Malcolm X, Malik El-Hajj El-Shabazz, and also brother Muhammad Ali, who took a courageous stance against white supremacy in the United States. We have a history of this. This is our legacy. This is who we are as Black Muslims. We are people who stand against racism. We are people who fight on behalf of our people. And that is our tradition when it comes to Islam. HAMZA YUSUF, now for almost a decade now, has been in contrary to this tradition, the tradition that all of these immigrant Muslims, these white Muslims, they stand on top of. We are the people who paved the way. I wrote an article. The article is almost 10 years old now. The article is almost 10 years old now. It was published in 2017, Why HAMZA YUSUF Cannot Teach Black People Islam. Right. And that article was in regards to him making very tired, redundant arguments against Black people in our fight against police brutality, saying things such as, what about all of this Black on Black crime? Not all Black people, not all police officers are racist, when the data is very clear that police use excessive force disproportionately against Black people. And this has been historically perpetrated against Black people throughout the United States by police departments. And so he took a stance against Black people fighting out against police brutality almost a decade ago. And year by year by year, he's represented the same tired stances. So him and Donald Trump, I mean, they're natural allies. Donald Trump also makes the same. He's no friend to Black people. Donald Trump is someone who has most recently teamed up with Elon Musk, sending racist white South Africans here to the United States as though they're a victim. So HAMZA YUSUF is a natural ally to Donald Trump. It's not surprising given his history and his trajectory. It comes as no surprise at all. But this position where people look at him as some sort of legitimate Islamic leader, some sort of legitimate Muslim leader, this needs to be completely disrupted.
How did that come about? Because you're right. He argues that of the 15 to 18,000 homicides that are taking place in the United States annually, he maintains that African Americans make up 50 or 56% of them, which I disagree with. But how is it? How did he become this so-called leader within the Muslim circle, especially when we had people such as, at the time, Warmandine Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan, and so many great African-American leaders? How did this happen?
Well, I think it's due to an inferiority complex that many Muslims have. They see a white person convert to Islam. I even heard people refer to HAMZA YUSUF as the Elvis Presley among American Muslims. And, Public Enemy said it best. Elvis Presley, he was a hero to most, but to Black people, he was just a straight up racist cracker. So it's a part of this celebrity. What people are attracted to a white person converting to Islam. It reinforces their iman. They have such an inferiority complex that Islam, which stands for truth, which is the religion of truth, anytime a white person converts to it, they see this as some sort of boost in their iman due to a history of colonialism, racism, and them having an inferiority complex about themselves.
So do you see him as an apologist for Israel?
Absolutely. He's also made, again, he has his trajectory of demonizing the resistance that Palestinians are putting up against the so-called state of Israel, which the state of Israel is an illegitimate settler colony. It was an ally of the apartheid regime of South Africa. No one should be demonizing, moralizing Palestinians for standing up against their oppression. But this is what HAMZA YUSUF does. This is who he is. He's no friend to oppressed people, and he is in bed with Donald Trump and right-wing politicians. They're natural allies to one another, and we shouldn't let HAMZA YUSUF converting to Islam fool us on this matter. He is someone who's made his position clear in regards to Black people and our fight against police brutality. He is someone who has made his position clear in regards to Palestinians and their struggle against this fake European settler colony, the so-called state of Israel. So he's no friend to oppressed people.
It seems to
Does
me, I'm
oh,
sorry,
go
go ahead.
No, I sincerely apologize. I actually did have a question because I'm coming, of course, as a Pakistani Muslim American outside of the Black community. Do you think that he poses a threat just to, the Palestinian community and the Black community, or do you think it's collectively all oppressed groups, whether they're Muslim or not, or regardless of ethnicity?
Yes, well, I think when it comes to the religion of Islam, as I mentioned earlier in this program, our legacy as Black Muslim has always historically been standing up for the oppressed, speaking truth to power. And so when we have people with these so-called Islamic credentials who put a mask as though they're some Islamic scholar, when what they really are white supremacists in religious garb, it poses a threat to our tradition of liberation and who we are. And so this is how I don't care how much ijazas HAMZA YUSUF has. I don't care how much he can wax poetically about this school of Islamic theology, what he's doing, the Zaytuna, what he's doing in the Zaytuna Institute. All of his institution of higher learning, the Zaytuna Institute, all of it is taking the Muslim community backwards because of his positions and what this man is standing for and what this man is propagating.
Mhm. Now, how would you say that it's taken it backward? Because many Muslims would say, "Wow, this is something." He has the first accredited Islamic college in the United States. Um, some would say that, "Wow, he's on the advisory board, which is giving the Muslim community a place, a standing in the White House." So, how would you counter that?
Sure, I mean, what Hamza Yusuf is proclamating is the Zaytuna Institute, are they going to produce revolutionary minds that are transforming their communities with Islam? No, they're going to produce passive, weak Muslims who are going to be making excuses for and who are going to be bootlicking the United States government, its politicians, and who are not going to be advancing the struggle of oppressed people against white supremacy and the injustices that the Black community has faced ever since we were kidnapped from Africa and brought to this country against our will.
Can you be a little bit more clear cut in your examination in reference to maybe his ideas and policies in Gaza, or his ideas dealing with Syria, or his ideas even dealing with the genetic, I mean, generic Palestinian Israeli conflict?
I've seen some of Hamza Yusuf, some of his commentaries on Palestine. But to be straightforward, I stopped following this guy years ago. Even the article, "Why Hamza Yusuf Cannot Teach Black People Islam." This was written in 2017, and it's recirculated because he's continuing to go down he's continuing to double down on positions that he's taken almost a decade ago. So, as I said, I'm not too familiar with some of his recent comments. Is not especially not on Syria, but I know very well what this individual has said about Black people, about what has said in terms of defending police officers who are committing massacres on the Black community. Not all police officers are racist. It's an assumption that police officers are racist. I also want to there's a book I wrote called The Muslim Guide for Understanding Structural Racism and Its Impact on Black America. If you read that book, we go through all the data, all the statistics that prove unequivocally that police departments disproportionately use excessive force against the Black community. And the data is clear, the evidence is clear, and this is something that Black people have historically struggled with in the United States, the first police officers being slave catchers. And so this is why the reason Malcolm X became so prominent in the Black community was when he organized against police officers who had perpetrated an act of brutality against one of his Muslim brothers. And when he was organizing the FOI to demand justice for that brother, one of the people commented, "No man should have that much power." And so our leaders who have emerged from our Black community Muslim leaders who have emerged from our black community, they are in line with our struggle. They are in line with our tradition, what our people are facing. And this Hamza Yusuf individual makes a mockery of that tradition and that legacy. So, if we want to talk specifically about his statements on Palestine, his statements on Syria, and other things that he said, I'm happy to discuss that if you all want to introduce the quotes. But for me, his statements in regards to black people and the police is sufficient that this individual is someone who is and it's almost these individuals, these so-called Sufi imams, they like to talk about adab. They like to talk about manners. What manners are you showing the people who paved the way for Islam in this country, who fought with their blood, sweat, and tears to defend the rights of Muslims and establish the first Islamic institutions in America? When you mock their struggle, when you defend their oppressors. So this individual has made his position clear, and it's time that the Muslim community takes heed that these are not any sort of individuals who we should be aligning with.
Yes. Two of the statements that really bothered me is that one, he blamed the conflict in Gaza on Palestinians, saying that they are too extreme, too radical, too violent, ignoring the whole historical dynamics of what has been taking place there. And also what's interesting is that he stated that the United States is one of the least racist countries in the world. I found that very disturbing. I don't know what planet he is living on or where he has come from. Can you speak to those issues?
Certainly. Now, we know, of course, the Palestinians are not too extreme. They're not too violent. The real perpetrators of the violence, the real perpetrators of extremism, is a so-called state of Israel and its Zionist ideology that is predicated upon massacring Palestinians, displacing them from their land, committing a genocide so they can usurp their territory and expand their settler colonial state. That is their real intentions. And now, why would a Muslim take the side of a Zionist, of the Zionists against their own Muslim brothers, characterizing their own Muslim brothers who are fighting to defend their land, their people, their heritage, who are being actively uh, completely actively wiped out of their own territory. He's coming to the defense of the oppressor, and this is why it should not surprise us that he would join as an advisor of the Trump administration. They have the same policies, the same ideology. Also, when he talks about America being one of the least racist countries in the world, I'm familiar with that statement, and he's making an assumption that when they passed civil rights legislation, automatically there was no more racism. All the racism just went away. When in reality, it just transformed itself. Black people continue to be discriminated against in every area of American society when it comes to employment opportunities. They've done studies. Black people send out a job resume. They have a quote unquote black sounding names, but they have superior qualifications. They send out other resumes with least qualified credentials, but more traditionally white sounding names. These jobs prefer the white applicant. They prefer the white applicant. When they've done studies on police usage of force, white police officers are more likely to misidentify. These are psychological studies. Are more likely to misidentify a wallet or other objects in a black person's hand as being a weapon, and they're more likely to use excessive force in those particular instances. I mean, the racism in American society is ubiquitous when it comes to wealth. When it comes to wealth accumulation, white people are still disproportionately more wealthier, the more financially stable than black families. And all the studies on this indicate that this is not a result of hard work. It's not the work. It's not this disparity between blacks and whites in terms of income, in terms of wealth, is not the result of hard work. It's not the result of any labor issues. It is a direct product of inheritance. White people who have accumulated wealth unjustifiably through slavery, pass it on from generation to generation. The exclusion of black people from wealth building opportunities and home ownership programs that were granted to whites. This is a direct, this wealth disparity between blacks and whites, it is a direct product of racism. So absolutely not. America is not, the guy's delusional. And we should not. This is an individual who has shown himself, as we say in the black community, to be an op. He is an op to oppress people. This is not someone who,
Right.
he does not hold dignified, respectable positions at all. And people who are, you have some black people working under him, uh,
Right.
working at his university, being his defense attorney when he comes out and makes these disrespectful statements against the black community.
Yeah.
So this is what I have to say in regards to HAMZA Yusuf. His statement, America is one of the least racist societies in the world, completely unfounded. Him blaming Palestinians for quote unquote being extreme. No, the Palestinians are not being extreme. His people, HAMZA Yusuf's people, they are the people. He's a descendant of people who came to this country. They exterminated the Native Americans. He is sitting on here on stolen land talking about another group of people, the Palestinians, who are fighting to defend land that was stolen from them.
I
So
find
this
it
is not
very
an individual. Go ahead, my brother. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I find it very interesting that this guy is from Walla Walla, Washington, 99.9% white community, but now he's in a position as a Muslim to speak on behalf of a community that is overwhelmingly people who are brown, black, and yellow. No, less than 1% of the Muslims in this community in this country are white. So basically, what we're hearing is that Mr. Hamza is really a paternalistic racist dressed in Muslim garb.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I did have a question for both of you. So when it comes to Islam, ideologically, it is the equalizer amongst races, socioeconomic class, and the list goes on and on. Do you think it's possible that he and perhaps other individuals, especially white reverts or otherwise, use Islam as a vehicle to essentially do the exact opposite? Like, for example, they use the Muslim platform as a vehicle because it's clearly not ideological within the context of our faith.
Absolutely. And another guy who joined that Trump advisory board is a guy named Ismail Rohr. This guy
Right.
has by the way, this individual Ismail Rohr, he's attacked me several times on Twitter, on his on his social media, mainly for me, speaking out very strongly against Hamza Yusuf. But here's a guy who he converted to Islam. He was accused of, of terrorism, and this is a guy who, in his trial for terrorism, decided to testify against his co-defendant, and that's the only reason this individual is not doing a life sentence, a life sentence in ADX Florence, because he decided to testify against his co-defendant. But now, he's rebranded himself as some sort of white Muslim conservative, forming all these alliances with evangelical Christians. Let me ask you all a question. Would a Somali Muslim brother who was a former member of Al Shabaab be allowed to rebrand themselves as some sort of figure, and now all of a sudden he's getting these high positions in government? Absolutely not. So this is really his whole story is made possible by white privilege. Like you see this guy Ismail Rohr, he'll be attacking African American legal thought, critical race theory, African American political thought, back to back to back with completely weak arguments saying that African American legal thought and Islam are incompatible. Yet he's joining a administration that is perpetrating a genocide on Palestinians, that is racist, anti-black. He doesn't see any incompatibility with that in Islam. So the answer to your question, sister, is absolutely yes. Islam stands for justice. Islam is a religion that has historically been connected with freedom for black people, speaking up against tyranny and oppression. And these individuals, HAMZA, YUSUF, Ismail Rohr, they're doing the exact opposite because they want to co-opt and disrupt that legacy. I really wouldn't be surprised if these individuals were going to, because the government recognizes the power of Islam, and they want to turn the tide by these agents, HAMZA, YUSUF, and Ismail Rohr.
Mhm.
Yeah, what? Oh, go on, Dr. White. I apologize.
I find it interesting that, like Hamza, Royer was also a Catholic. He's brought up in St. Louis. Very interesting, and he believes that he can speak on behalf of the Muslims of the global South because of three things. That is, he read the autobiography of Malcolm X. He saw Spike Lee's movie Do the Right Thing, and he liked Public Enemy. You see, and it is just sad. It's funny. It's a funny, sad thing, whereby we have these individuals who have, as the attorney stated, have no connection to the struggle of the African American or to just generally the struggle of Muslims fighting for freedom and justice and equality throughout the world. I mean, again, they're nothing more than paternalistic. And I also find it very interesting that if I'm tell me if I'm wrong, attorney, but they are the only so-called Muslims on the on the advisory committee. Am I right?
I would have to double check that, but what I will say is, the whole irony about this is now you have some on the right who are still attacking Hamza Yusuf and attacking Ismail Rohr because they're Muslims, because they have this past. It just goes to show that they will never, accept. They will never accept you all, no matter how much they're trying to placate, the right and join up with these conservative movements. They're bringing up, Hamza Yusuf. He allegedly did some some fundraiser years ago, or he was connected with something with Imam. They're trying to connect him with Imam Jamil Al-Amin because they may have attended some conference years ago
Right.
together. Which, I mean, there's no real connection between the two, but they're attacking they're attacking Hamza Yusuf, attacking Ismail Rohr. It just goes to show that no matter how much we placate, how much Muslims placate, bootleg the Donald Trump administration, white conservative, they're not going to be accepting of Islam or Muslims.
But
Yeah, and oh,
go
go
ahead.
on, Dr. White.
No, you go ahead. I've been talking enough. Go ahead.
I sincerely apologize. I just had a quick question. So, with Hamza Yusuf being appointed per se, do you think that Trump is potentially using him as a proxy when it comes to maybe spying on Muslims who may be like radical or militant or organizing against empire? Do you think that he's essentially serving as a proxy and not, I guess, like conducive to the Muslim or Ummah cause?
Yes, I definitely believe that these individuals, Hamza Yusuf, Ismail Rohr, and they're being utilized to placate the Muslims, to move Muslims away from that revolutionary tradition of Malcolm X, to move Muslims away from that revolutionary tradition of Imam Jamil Al-Amin and the beautiful, wonderful history that traces back from the Muslim slave revolts and leads all the way up to the beautiful Black Liberation Army. How many Muslims were involved in the Black Liberation Army, the Black Panther Party? So it is a way to move Muslims away from a tradition that they have always been connected to, and that is the struggle of Black people against white supremacy. And Islam has historically been the spiritual force behind that. The Donald Trump the J. Edgar Hoover, he recognized this. When you read his COINTELPRO documents, he recognized the power of Islam in awakening the oppressed. This government has always been fearful of Islam, fearful of Muslims, and the revolutionary potential it poses. And so when we see individuals like HAMZA Yusuf, Ismail Rohr, they're being put in these top positions in a racist government, it is part of a strategy to placate the Muslims and to disconnect the Muslim community from this beautiful struggle of Black people against white supremacy.
Yeah, but wasn't Yusuf also supportive of the Biden administration in reference to their activities in Gaza?
You're indicating, was HAMZA Yusuf supportive of the Biden administration?
Yes.
So I'm not fully aware of Mr. HAMZA Yusuf's position in regards to the Joe Biden administration. But if that is the case, both of the, whether it's the Trump administration, whether it's the Joe Biden, administration, both of these, individuals are two sides of the same Zionist coin in regards to what's been perpetrated against the Palestinian people. And these individuals, HAMZA Yusuf, they're seeking positions in the government. They're seeking positions with a white supremacist government. I'm no fan of Donald Trump. I'm no fan of Joe Biden. All of these individuals, when it comes to Black people, are no friends of Black people.
Mm-hmm. Hina?
My next question for you was actually, so clearly we know that he is a threat to our community on a multitude of different levels, not just for Black Muslim Americans. How are we able to address individuals like him and create a form of resistance? Because, under Trump's administration, not to undermine anything that happened under Biden's, it seems like there are a lot of people within the Ummah, especially, watching what's going on in Palestine and Syria and other regions. I think they are kind of becoming more self-aware of the fact that the empire is not serving us and that we do need to unite as an Ummah and kind of resist and fight back. These organizing efforts will obviously be thwarted by individuals like HAMZA Yusuf. So how can we maintain organizing? How can we create that resistance? And how can we sort of unite? I guess what I'm looking for is like solutions when it comes to individuals like him.
Sure, I think the first solution, we I'm going to first speak on behalf of the Black Muslim community and what we as Black Muslims need to be doing. We need to be returning to the political and spiritual legacy of Malcolm X. Malcolm X spoke about building Islamic institutions within the Black community to address the social problems that the Black community faces. We need to be doing this on a local level. We need to be establishing Black Muslim institutions connected to the political legacy of Malcolm X that are teaching the religion of Islam, propagating the religion of Islam, producing our own leaders and producing our own platforms like this that give voices to Black Muslim voices and creating our own alternative institutions. And this this is the reconnecting to Malcolm X's legacy of Dawah. I think this is a very important priority. So this is something that we must prioritize. Secondly, as a ummah, we need to be at the forefront of fighting against racism, speaking out against racism, hating racism in our heart, speaking out against it with our tongue, working to change this racist society and the impact that racism is having on Black communities with our hands. And we need to be producing scholarship. We need to be actively speaking out against racism. So wherever racism rears its ugly head, this is also a very important priority. And third, when it comes to individuals such as HAMZA Yusuf, his like people who defend them, we need to start the Muslim community. Why as a Muslim community, we should not be supporting Zaytuna Institute. This is not an institution that should be supported, that should be platformed. There, as I mentioned earlier, they are not going to be producing revolutionary minds that are transforming their communities with Islam. They're going to be producing passive Muslims who are down with and making excuses for this system. So we need to create our own Islamic educational institutes that are speaking the truth about racism, teaching the truth about police brutality, and that is connected to the struggle of Black people. And the entire Muslim community needs to be supporting it, supporting these institutions intellectually, supporting these institutions financially. This is the priority.
There are several Black Muslim organizations, such as the Black Muslim Leadership Council, the Black Muslim Leadership Council Fund, the Muslim Women's Organization, and several others. Um, I haven't heard any one of these groups or leaders of these groups speaking out against YUSUF, as well as um, Warrior, Ismail Warrior. Why is this, or have you heard any of them speaking out against this appointment recently?
I'm not too familiar with those organizations to know much details about their politics and their stances. Maybe they don't see Hamza Yusuf anymore. As being relevant. He's been me myself. Hamza Yusuf was making these types of statements. 7 to 8 years ago, he was making statements that were very mocking of Black people, the Black struggle, and I spoke about it, very strongly then and there. But I think our energies need to be focused more so on establishing Black Muslim institutions, and that will speak the truth about racism. We should speak out against these individuals, no doubt. We should definitely speak out against them. And there are some, I think that there's a greater duty and a greater responsibility for Black people to speak out against Hamza Yusuf who are close to him. This individual has Black people working, in his educational institutions. How can you be a dignified, self-respecting Black man and you're working at a school whose founder is mocking the struggle of your people against racism? Have you no self-respect? Have you no dignity to be so close to such an individual, and you don't check this guy? Like the very least you could do when he came out about 7 8 years ago, speaking out against the struggle of Black people against police brutality, right then and there, this individual, if you're a Black person, you're close to him, to Yusuf, he should have been checked. But now, it's 7 8 years later, he's continuing down the same political trajectory, and yet you still have Black people, even you have some Black Muslims who are being his defense attorney, defending him when he comes out and he speaks against Black people, our struggle, when he joins up with this racist Trump administration. So we do need to be speaking out against them, and I'm glad that we have this platform so we collectively can address this individual and his mocking of Black people and our struggle against white supremacy.
Organizations like CARE, as well as Engage, um, have sponsored him on several occasions to speak at their events, and they have drawn large crowds. Do you think that Hamza's views are indicative of many of the views or the feelings of many non-African American and non-Black Muslims in the United States?
Yeah, what are you doing, Care? This is a message to the Council of American Islamic Relations. You all need to be speaking out against Hamza Yusuf. But when you look at this organization, CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, I mean, it's all about public you can tell by the very name of the organization that what it's about is about monitoring, Muslims' public relations, how Muslims are publicly perceived, vis-a-vis, mainstream American society. Not so many years ago, CARE came out and they gave condolences to John McCain. They called John McCain a hero. Someone who supported apartheid, the apartheid regime of South Africa. They said, they were crying tears for John McCain. Why, CARE? So I know several individuals who work for CARE personally, and but we have to be straightforward about this. This is not acceptable conduct here. You all should stop platforming HAMZA Yusuf. You all need to care more about public relations vis-a-vis how Muslims are perceived by the mainstream American society, and you all need to support the struggle of Black people against white supremacy.
So, do you think that perhaps the appointment of Royer and Hamza to this advisory board is more of a case of identity politics at play?
Well, I believe that what it is about placating the powerful tradition of Islam in advancing the liberation of oppressed people. And so they want to elevate these individuals to positions of leadership in American society. They're Muslims. They want to redefine what Islam is. They want to move Islam away and disconnect Islam entirely from what Islam has always been about in the United States, which is it has always been connected to the struggle of Black people against white supremacy. That is why Malcolm X is the most prolific, the most influential Muslim leader of the past century of the past century. That the same goes in regards to Muhammad Ali. And on a side note, I've heard Hamza Yusuf give lectures about Malcolm X, about Muhammad Ali. Like you really can't take these individuals seriously when Ismail Rohr is talking about, oh, I converted to Islam after I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. What, like, clearly you didn't understand what Malcolm X stood for, what Malcolm X, the principles that Malcolm X embodied. So, I mean, you clearly either you lack reading comprehension skills, or you are being deceptive, or you're lying. If you want to tell me you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X tests you, yet you join forces with the Trump administration, you delegitimize the struggle against Black people, against white supremacy in the police. So these individuals are not to be taken seriously. They are destructive. The Hamza Yusuf, Ismail Rohr, these are destructive individuals. They are actively destroying the legacy of Black Muslims in the United States when they placate the message of Islam and join the bed of our oppressors, such as the Trump administration and his racist supporters. And as I stated previously, I don't care, Hamza Yusuf, he can wax so poetically about the Asharite school of Islamic theology, Greek philosophy, and Al
Yes.
Ghazali, and this Islamic thinker Al Ghazali, and all of this, and Ibn Sina. But you are an active white supremacist. So I don't care how many ijazas he's had, how much ayahs of the Quran, that Hamza Yusuf has memorized, how many years he spent in Mauritania allegedly studying the Maliki school of Islamic jurisprudence. You don't know what Islam is if you are making these statements to mock the struggle of the Palestinians against the so-called state of Israel. You do not know what Islam is if you are mocking the struggle of Black people against the police.
Right.
No, I agree with that. And I did have a question for you. And it's actually been brought up in the comments as well. So we want to thank our audience for being very interactive today. But that being said, it seems like Hamza Yusuf actually has a history in which he also played a big role in the Bush administration. Do
Right.
either of you know what kind of role he played and how that may have, like, I guess, come into the Trump administration as well?
He was an advisor.
Okay.
He was an unofficial advisor with the Bush administration, and he was on a commission. I was on the commission. So, but the Bush administration utilized him as their eyes to oversee and to give them analysis on what's taking place in the Middle East. He constantly would go to forums, to State Department forums, and CIA forums, giving his position and his thinking on what is taking place in the Middle East. And constantly, there was quite conservative and quite reactionary. I know, I was there. So that's what he is. What's interesting is that HAMZA, as well as Warrior, they could have said something that would have given the Muslim community some faith and some hope last week. Last week, you had Randy Fine, who is a congressperson out of Florida, not far from me, who stated that the United States, Israel and the United States should nuke Gaza. Do you remember that statement last week? And both of these fellas could have said something condemning that language, but he didn't say anything. And I find that very interesting.
That is very interesting. And I want the audience to understand something. When we have token individuals that come from oppressed backgrounds, whether it's South Asians, Middle Eastern people, Black individuals, Muslim individuals who serve as advisors, are, in high profile positions within the government, when they do not stand up and speak out against very damaging, sentiments that are expressed by, government officials, it's almost a way that the government is legitimizing what they're saying by saying, look, we have Muslim advisors, we have, Black individuals in our cabinets, and so on and so forth. If they're not speaking out against it, then what we're saying must be true, which is why this serves to be so damaging. And, I actually wanted to ask another question. Did he play some sort of, I don't want to say pivotal role, but did he play any sort of influential role when it came to the war in Afghanistan and Iraq? Because that was going on during the Bush administration as well.
Well, I would say that he never gave any pushback to the trend. Remember, people like HAMZA and others who get on these commissions and advisory boards, they have a choice. They can either speak for the interests of their community, and that is to push back against policies that are detrimental and anti-human, or they can align with the administration to enhance their political and influence and their economic wealth. And most of them align. They have no interest. Now remember, when I say identity politics, it really means that they're there to support the status quo, all right? And their face is utilized as if to say, look, we have one of your own. Now, the sad thing about it is that we as Black people, we as Palestinians, we as Arabs, we as Indians, many of us are so backward until we say, oh, wow, we got one of our own people there. Isn't the world great? Isn't America changed? We get so happy when we hear the president say, oh, Thomas Jefferson had a Quran. We're so stupid. Instead of looking at the real issues. So HAMZA, like the attorney stated, he is nothing but a stooge for the administration to be utilized to keep the global South, the Black, the Palestinians, the Arabs, the Muslims in place. All right, so that we will not do anything that is outlined, that is outside the reach of the government. And I think you're also right. He will be utilized as a mechanism to work with the FBI and to work with law enforcement to encourage spying on our own people. In fact, last year, I went to a meeting with FBI and police chiefs in the state of Florida, and that's exactly what they were pushing. They were pushing imams to influence their stock, their constituents to spy on each other. And I'm the only one who said that was ludicrous because we are a peaceful community for the most part. We don't go around doing things. That's why we need Attorney Muhammad down here to help us.
We're coming into the last 10 minutes or so of our show. So I did want to kind of, go over any closing thoughts that either one of you have in terms of this issue or any others. And then Dr. White, as well as, Brother HAKEEM, if you also want to kind of go over where people can reach you, if you're working on, books, platforms. I know, Dr. White, you do have a campaign going on. I'd love to go over that as well, because at the Muslim Street, we also, even though we do bring on guest speakers, we also want to give, both of you as well as anyone else that we bring on a platform to be able to showcase your work, your organizing, your efforts in our communities, and give a way for people to contact you and get in touch with you, have they, any other questions or even want to, work with you in any capacity.
Attorney?
Sure. So let's start off with my closing thoughts in regards to HAMZA YUSUF. He has shown his character. He has shown who he is for almost over a decade now. He has a trajectory. He has a political trajectory of defending white supremacy. This is who he is. He is not someone who supports oppressed people. Him joining the Trump administration, I mean, let's be real, this individual is not going to be actively speaking out against the United States and the so-called state of Israel's genocide against Palestinians. That he is going to be a stooge who is going to be used to justify further oppression against the Muslim world. I mean, what advising are they going to be doing? Muslims are an oppressed people in the United States and across the world. The United States is actively oppressing Muslims with its military. What advising is he going to be doing? Is he going to be telling the Trump administration, stop your genocide in Gaza, stop the oppression of Black people? Absolutely not. This individual, HAMZA YUSUF, Ismail Rohr, they are going to be supporting the status quo. So that is who they are. But what we as a Black Muslim community need to be doing is we need to be focused on dawah in our own community. We need to be reviving the Islamic tradition of Malcolm X. I run an organization, Black Dawah Network. We organize Islamic outreach events throughout the Black community. We go into quote unquote gang infested neighborhoods. We reach out to gang members with the message of Islam. We go into the communities that have been most impacted by racism, by white supremacy, and we teach people about Islam. And that is what we need to be focused on. We need to be focused on reviving the legacy of Malcolm X in our communities. Inshallah, the people can reach me. I'm very available on Twitter. It's brother underscore HAKEEM. I have several books on Amazon that are available for purchase. One is The Muslim Guide for Understanding Structural Racism and Its Impact on Black America. I have another book. It's called In Defense of Black America, where we go through the most common arguments that are used to delegitimize the struggle of Black people against racism. Arguments that you hear HAMZA YUSUF making. What about Black on Black crime when it comes to fighting police brutality? Oh, Black people, Black people sold their own people into slavery. Slavery was so long ago. I address the most common arguments that people use to delegitimize the struggle of Black people against racism. I debunk it and I defend African American political dissent. That book is available for purchase on Amazon.com.
And you may have said it, but just so the audience is clear, I know you said you're on Twitter. What is your Twitter handle, Instagram, email, just in case people want to reach out to you in that regard?
Yeah, so I can be reached out on Twitter. It's brother spelled the last word of brother is an A, and then it's an underscore HAKEEM, HAKEEM.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Dr. White, I know you also have an active campaign going on, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean,
Yes,
you have a
yes.
multitude of accolades. I don't even want to take the mic on that. If you can
Well,
kind of go over your information and how people can reach you.
well, first of all, as you know, I'm running for Congress in the 10th district, which is Orange County, Orlando, Florida. And if you want to get involved with our campaign, our handle is pretty long, but the easiest way is to reach out to our office, which is 321 320 5373. 321 320 5373, and someone will get back with you very immediately.
And do you
As
live in Orlando, if I'm not
I live,
mistaken?
I live in Orlando, Winter Park.
Okay.
All
Got
right.
it. Perfect.
And secondly, we heard the attorney, and you want to get the book Blacklistic: The Price of Speaking Truth. The reason I talked about the attorney because I know he's speaking truth, and I know he's getting hit. Anytime you speak truth, you're attacked one way or another. So this is like a guide for us as to what is happening, what has happened, and what will happen to you if you take the time and you have the guts to speak truth to power consistently. So it's a book that you can get on Amazon.com. I look forward to you all reading it. I look forward to hearing from you. And most of all, I look forward to having another dialogue with attorney Hakeem Mohammed. The next time, you must send us a bean pie and send some fish from Lawrence's fish house on Canal Street.
Inshallah. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you. This is Hina Lotus, the host of The Muslim Street. We are on social media as well. Please follow us. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We actually have a very big group that you can actually join and post certain things, just to kind of keep the community aware of organizing and articles and, other information going on. We're also on Twitter. I'm on Twitter as well. You can follow me, well, now known as X. It is at, and I'm going to spell it INTREPIDLOTUS. Please comment, like, subscribe, and let us know if there's any episodes you'd like to see, if there's any issues that you'd like for us to address. Huge shout out again to Lance Curve as well as Malik Aziz. They've definitely helped build this platform and make it what it is today. And inshallah, we will continue to grow. But thank you so much for joining us. We do go live every Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And so we'll be here, same time, same place. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night and salam.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Wa alaikum salam.